have you ever taken yourself out on a date?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's a big part of what we're going to talk about today because there's a huge trend on TikTok, the hashtag date yourself instead, which has 96 million views on it. And so it's up for people right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting topic to know. Like, what does it mean to date yourself? Because I'm sure there's lots of wild ideas about that. Why should we do it? Why is it important? And why is it weird or difficult to do? Why does it seem like a strange notion?
What's up, y'all? I'm Ofosu Jones-Quartey.
And I'm Leah Santa Cruz.
And we're the meditation coaches on the Balance app.
And this is our weekly show, Well Balanced, where we explore ways that you can live a healthier and happier life.
And before we dive into taking ourselves out on a date, we've got a little podcast announcement. We want to hear from you about what you like about the show, what you're not a fan of, and what you want more of. So we've got a link to a very quick survey that you can share your thoughts in the episode description.
Really, we love making this show because of you. And so after you're listening today, check out the link because we would love to hear from you.
Yes. All right. And now let's dive into what it means to take yourself out on a date. Leah, you said that you've taken yourself out on a date before. So can you tell me about either like the best one or the most recent one? Or whichever.
Well, I can think of several. And, I got inspired to do this by reading The Artist's Way, the book. This was a very foreign idea to me about 10 years ago. So I started reading this book about how to live a more creative life. And one of the assignments was to take yourself on an artist's date once a week. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I never really thought about doing that. Every time I'd gone to a restaurant, it's always been with someone else. And practically most places that I go, I would go with someone else. Otherwise, I kind of find being a homebody or just going to the gym or a yoga class, which I don't really consider a date because it's more of like exercise. But yeah, I have recently been exploring like what just sort of suits an idea of fun for me. What sounds interesting and different and maybe even a little challenging. So I started doing pottery at a local pottery place, and that was sort of an artist's date that I was doing for quite a while. And recently going to art galleries or walking through just really cool design stores and just getting inspired has been really, really fun. What about you? Have you been doing this?
Yeah. I mean, I really like being in nature when I'm taking myself out on a date. And I took myself on a 2-hour hike around a lake that we have out here. There's also a restaurant. When I used to live in Bethesda, Maryland, I used to love going on a by myself date at Chef Tony's and then just sitting there and eating great food and thinking, just like giving my brain space to breathe and not having to, perform for anybody else or to be forced to consider the thoughts and feelings of others. I'm just really just eating what I want to eat. It's like down to your menu choices, everything, you're just doing what would make you feel good in that moment. And there's a real sense of like even just going back to think about those times gives me a boost of like a jolt of goodness,
I like that you mentioned going to that restaurant with Tony's Chef, because I think that's what separates taking yourself on a date versus just the traditional, like, I'm going to go down to a taco truck for lunch,
Right.
Which might be something very normal that you do. But I think what is interesting about, okay, I'm taking myself on a date, it's like intentional.
Right.
And it is probably something that you wouldn't typically, well, at least this is how I think about it. I wouldn't typically do this on my own. Or it feels like something special.
Yeah.
Something interesting, right? Like taking yourself to a fancy restaurant where there's chefs and you're eating gourmet food might be something that you would do on a date with somebody. So if you're going to go there by yourself, and sit on your phone on social media the whole time.
Right.
It's kind of like, would you do that on a date? Would you be on your phone the whole time?
Right.
No. So treat yourself to the ability to enjoy your food and to reflect, and not like you have to talk to yourself like a weird person talking to
I
yourself.
mean, if that's your thing, that's all good.
You could bring a
Yeah.
pen and paper and write and have like some good reflections, or just strike up a conversation with people or the server, and just feel like you're treating yourself. The first time I took myself to a fancier restaurant by myself, I actually felt really awkward. At first I was like, I wonder if people were looking at me like I'm weird, because it was so weird to me to do that, because I was the only person I
Yeah.
saw in the restaurant that was there by myself. And I was like, I wonder if they think that I got stood up on a date or something, there was a little bit of self-consciousness that made it hard for me to relax, but it was good for me. It was good for me to challenge myself in that way. It was sort of like pushing against my edge of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I think that's what also makes it a kind of a cool thing to go on a date with ourselves. And I think it's because, like, a lot of us, we have these stories about the importance of finding our better half
Yeah.
while we're growing up. And like, my parents said that, many jokes like, oh, this is my better half.
Yeah.
But the power of those words is that, like, somehow we're not complete.
That you're not whole. Yeah.
Yeah, we enter this world and neither are they. We have to have another person. And so I think the mentality makes it hard for us to learn how to be truly autonomous, whether we are
Yeah.
single and we're looking for a partner, or we're in a partnership.
Yeah. I travel quite a lot. And so I find that I'm always on like some kind of micro date with myself, because, I might be in some state by myself. And that's the
Yeah,
beautiful thing about traveling, is just the way that you get to experience yourself outside of your norms.
for sure.
And I think that goes back to what you were saying, is that, a date is something that you might not ordinarily do. And I think it's a good question. Like, what makes it a date? Like, you ever seen a sitcom where two people are just like having like a burger together, and then someone's like, is this a date? And they're not exactly sure, So I think the designation of like, it's special. Maybe that's the simplest thing. It can be something that you do all the time, but you're making it special, for what in your own way.
A friend of mine told me something that I will always remember, and that it's, you should take yourself on a nice date. And that is
Uh-huh.
new, interesting, challenging, and exciting.
Mhm.
So any one of those elements alone is good, but if you combine them and it's something that's new and it's something that's also interesting and challenging, makes you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, but also
Yeah.
exciting, then it's like, that's really a kind of cool date. And so I try to keep that in mind when I'm planning dates for myself. And it doesn't always have to be challenging or always have to be super exciting, but it is a kind of a nice guideline to get creative and to think about, what could I do that falls within these categories.
How do you feel when you are out on a date with yourself?
First, I like to present myself in a nice way. So that means wearing an outfit that makes me feel fun or playful or beautiful, and just taking the extra time to get ready and take care of myself. I find that really enjoyable, and it already starts to have an impact on my mood and get me in a more excited place. And then taking the time out means I have to make some negotiations, because I am a mom and a wife. And so I have to coordinate with a babysitter and or my husband and
Yeah.
fit it into my calendar, so to speak. It does not just going to happen. Someday I'm going to sit around and I'm bored and then I'll think, what should I do right now? It doesn't work out like that for me. I have to
Yeah.
intentionally plan these things. And so even just like 30 minutes of time is great. But, I love, and I've talked about him before, psychologist Gay Hendricks, and him and his wife, Kathleen. They're authors of some really incredible books and relationship counselors. And he wrote this book called The Big Leap. And there was some really profound advice in there on solving relationship problems, but it was actually surprising. It was, take plenty of time for yourself,
Yeah.
so long as the intention is to nurture the independent part of you.
Yeah. I think that's what all this points to, is nurturing the independent part of you. And
Yeah.
I know that when I'm away for days at a time, I'll come back and I'll say to my wife, like, do you want to do like a staycation for yourself? And just get like a break, all the way. And, she always says yes. So, and she's an introverted person also. So I know that her getting some time to herself
Mm,
is a huge deal, and I think that that helps our relationship as well.
yeah.
And I feel like it's possible to take micro dates too, like a simple walk, but
Hmm.
having the intention that like yes, there's going to be like an exercise component that's good for it, or yes, there's
Yeah.
going to be like a mental health component that's good
But
for it,
it's
but
like it's self-care. It's a self-care
yeah.
ritual. Yeah.
Yes. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just doing this to take care of myself.
It's
And
it's like simple as like a hot bubble bath, It's like a
right.
luxury.
Yeah.
Or cooking yourself a nice dinner. And just so it's just
Yeah.
for you.
That's a nice one. Making yourself a nice dinner.
You getting your favorite takeout. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
or getting your favorite takeout for sure.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, and just doing it without having to think about like, does this fit what
What
other people
Yeah,
expect
exactly.
of
Thinking
me?
about what anybody else needs or wants or worrying about anybody else.
I think doing all of this and knowing that it's not selfish, but it's actually in service to
Yeah.
your human well-being, and how that is going to be in service to the well-being of the people around you.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to get out of that day. Like you could find a completely brand new hobby or something that you had no idea that you loved so much.
You also get to experience that feeling of being seen in the world
Mhm.
without the filter of somebody else that's like there as your companion. You get
Yeah.
to, I took myself on a little dinner date when I was in LA last week,
Yeah.
and I had a dinner at the Lux Hotel in Los Angeles. And
Mm.
I felt a little self-conscious because it was very much like maybe there was a convention or something like that. It was very much a
Mhm.
lot of like old white guys in suits and ties. And I was like, oh, maybe I didn't get the memo that maybe I shouldn't be in here, because I definitely was
So
wearing
true.
like a big leather jacket and pearls and a necklace and big bracelets. And I just,
The usual.
yeah, the usual, and it's funny because I was okay, being by myself, but I was also feeling a little awkward, like, oh, maybe I picked the wrong place to go on a little date with. But then this older couple came and sat next to me, and the lady really had a lot of questions about my outfit
Oh, yeah.
and and just what I did for a living. And it ended up being really sweet, and yeah, I remember that moment as just a sweet moment of like there's an element of vulnerability when you're out by yourself, and
Yeah.
you don't really know how the world's going to respond to that.
Yeah, vulnerability. I guess that's good. And it's also just like in meditation, how it can be a little unsettling at times to just sit with yourself and to be
Yeah.
bombarded by what is actually going on under the surface that you've been too busy to take time for.
Mm,
Treating yourself to, setting the intention, and I'm going to take myself on a date, um, really opens up that portal of,
it does.
okay, what is it that my heart truly desires? What is it that I've been feeling a little neglected in and maybe need a little bit of in my life? So I think it is really a deep dive into this portal of getting to know yourself deeply.
Yeah.
And that can be a little unsettling.
Sure. Of
It's
course.
probably just as unsettling as going on a date with a new person and getting to know them, because there's a lot
Yeah.
of things that we don't look at within ourselves or take the time to get to know. And so that's why I think it's called a date, because you're really getting to know yourself. We think that we know ourselves,
Nice.
but do we
Yeah.
really?
Do you really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I yeah, Fight Club was like, how much can you know about yourself if you've never been in a fight? I think maybe we should switch that and say, how
How
much
much
can
do
you
you know
know
about
about
yourself?
yourself if you never
Never
been
been
out
on a
on a
date
date with
with
yourself?
yourself.
Hey, so I'm sure some of our listeners are wondering, like, how do you even make the time to do this? And
Yeah.
I think that it's been easier for me because number one, it's just a part of my job for me to be running around all over the place. And then number two, so I can carve that time out intentionally without having to plan it way ahead. But my wife, for instance, who works from home and is home a lot, and the kids are, always on top of mom, like she has to really plan it out more.
I honestly,
what do you think?
I think it's less about how do I make the time for this, because if you were, let's say you were single and you were seeking a relationship and you were to match up with somebody on a dating app, it wouldn't be that difficult to ask, how am I going to find the time to meet this person and make a date? You would just make it a priority and find the time to open up your schedule for that. So I think it's less about the logistics and do I do it in Google Calendar or do I do this or that? And more about, okay, since it's for myself, it's a mentality thing that I have to get. I think it's less about the how do I do it logistically and more about how do I tell myself that this is important enough to make a priority. How do I get over the objections that are going to come up? Like, yeah, but you have all these more important things to do. How do I tap into the fact that I am worthy of this, that I am deserving of this, and that this is actually truly important?
Yeah.
So I think it's a mentality and an attitude that we have to approach in order to make this happen.
Yeah.
Versus it being a matter of scheduling,
Yeah.
because that'll all work itself out when you set your priorities.
Yeah. So it I feel like maybe even getting to the point of a date might be the end point of a shifting mindset towards more self-compassion, more self-kindness.
Working through the guilt that might come up, as a mom, I really identify with like the mom guilt that, oh, I'm taking time away from my child to do this for myself. I experienced that yesterday because I went painting and I left the house and I went to a friend's house and there was mom guilt there about, oh, I know he wants to spend time with me and I'm leaving while he's awake. And so I had to get through that. And then I came back and I had so much more energy to be present with him. And, because I had taken that time for myself. So I think it's really just like that first initial hurdles of getting there. It's kind of like bringing yourself to the gym for the first time in a long time.
Sure.
You got to get through the mental hurdles of all the things that want to come up and tell you there's better things to do with your time or that you're too tired or that you're not worth it. And just friggin' do it. Don't make excuses at the end of the day. Just even if you don't feel like it, you do it anyways.
For sure.
Well, I enjoyed this conversation. It's given me some inspiration about my next date that I can take for myself.
Yeah, me too.
And also giving me inspiration about dates I can take with my husband. I just think dates are fun. Let's just do more of them, please.
For sure. My wife and I are scheming on a staycation tomorrow. And but you know what though? If it doesn't happen, if we can't get like the childcare, I might just offer her the weekend. Oh, here she is, babe. If we can't get a babysitter, if you want, you can just have the weekend if you like. Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And remember, we really want to hear from you on what you think about the show. So please click on the survey link that we have in the episode description.
And if you aren't watching this show already, go to YouTube for a video version of the podcast where you can see our faces. And while you're at it, check out the new meditations that we have on our channel. They've got calming visuals and nature sounds, and they're new. So check them out.
And we'll be back again next week for another awesome conversation. So we will see you then.
Take care. Remember to be kind to yourself.
Have a great date.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
You could always like add an accessory, like put on like that extra like necklace or this, me, I'm going to think about that.
You're accessory pusher. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Add an accessory, accessorize it, put on like the sunglasses or the pair of shoes or do your nails or, something that just makes it feel a little juicier. Yeah.
Don't underestimate the power of getting dressed up.